Turn on the lights.
Right away, sir.
4 years ago, I made my own JARVIS voice assistant named Otis. That video got 144,000 views. Today, I'm starting a series where I'll be building Otis 2.0. This version will have a bunch of cool new features like AI responses, personality, reminders, and so much more. So join me on this journey as we build our own JARVIS. This is Otis 2.0. Let's get started. So, I already got some code in here to start off. From Vosk, import the model that we're using, Kali Reader. And you have to specify where the model is located. So for me, it's in the same folder as my project folder to find the microphone you're using. If you use this right here, this will print all the available microphones on your computer. So what this code should do is start. It should listen. It'll say now listening, speech to text, now listening. And then it'll wait for my keyboard input. If I press Q, it'll stop listening and it'll quit. But if not, it'll keep going and it'll read whatever I say. And if the message isn't blank, it'll print it out here. So let's give it a try. Hello. How are you? Okay, now that we've done that, we can move on to responding with AI. I'll be using Llama 3 in this video, which you can find on their website. So now I started adding code for Llama to respond to whatever I say. So if you ever get this error, it means you just need to run a Llama. And this piece of code will print whatever Llama's response is. Hello. Where is the Eiffel Tower? Interesting, okay. So I guess this is what happens when I don't tell it to keep it short. Good to know. I'll be using this conference room microphone as well as this Bluetooth speaker that I had laying around. For this video, we'll be using PYTTSX3 for the text-to-speech. It's not saying anything after the first one. Okay, I got it to work. I had to do engine.start loop here. And when you come down here, for some reason, the run and wait would cause it to not work in a loop. So, yep, I did that, and then it looped in here whenever you quit. So, let's see it work. Hello.
Hello. It's nice to meet you. Is there something I can help you with, or would you like to chat?
Where is the Eiffel Tower located? Keep it short.
The Eiffel Tower is located in Paris, France.
Okay, so I saw something that said try streaming the words in as they come. So we're gonna get out a try and see if that helps with the speed. As you can see, it did not help.
You like to chat?
Okay, so I changed the num predict down to 150. I added threading for a thread for each core that I have on the computer. We're gonna see if that helps the speed a little bit. This also did not help very much. That didn't work very well, so I think I'm gonna just move on to adding more features. And I think the main...
It sounds like you're acknowledging that.
Okay, so that didn't work, so I think I'm just gonna move on to adding more features. I think my main issue is just like this computer's not that great. So I'm gonna probably try to do put a graphic card in it and give it some more RAM and see if that helps with the speed. But otherwise, I'm just gonna move on and circle back to to make it faster later on. For the memory, we're going to be using a SQL Server database. And what that database will do is allow us to store all the memories in the database and then use that to query the AI with. So this is basically how it works. So the user will make a request. The program will go to SQL and get all the memories, combine that with this request, and send that to the AI. And then the AI will respond. And then we take all of this and we store it back in the SQL Server using embedding. Embedding allows the program to basically find similarities in what you're saying, right? So it finds what entries or what rows are most relevant to what you're talking about. And it'll take all of those memories, put it together, send it over to AI, and then the AI will basically have its own memory every single time you send something to it. I installed SQL Server Management Studio as well as SQL Express. I connected the two here and I made a database for Otis as well as a table for memory. When creating the table, make sure you change the setting for the ID so that it increments. Actually making a mistake here. When doing date created, do date time and not timestamp. I'll be using PyODBC to communicate with the SQL Server from Python. You can get the actual server name by going into SQL Server Management Studio and right-click in the database and clicking Properties. And then the name will be what you need to put as a server. Now I'm creating the function that will embed the words into bytes. I added the connection, the SQL connection here, so it'll connect to the database. Here is where the embedding is going to happen. And then here is where it'll insert into the memory table with the content, the embedding thing from over here, and the type. So the type will be like what the conversation's about. And then down here, I started the prompt. This part will make it a shorter response, so it'll respond faster. So I want it to be able to execute commands. It'll put this in the text, and then I'll have something go through the text and find anything with this kind of syntax with the star, and it'll run that command. So kind of the same thing with this classification here. This is where the AI will create its own type. And then here is where we would give it the memory that we pull from the database. And then here comes the part where you give the user, you give it what the user said. Okay, this first test went pretty well. It was able to, as you can see here, I said hello. It gave me the time at the end. I don't know why I did that, but that's okay. But at the end, it classified it as a conversation. I added these two functions here. This will basically look through the entire response and grab anything that has a greater than or less than sign around it and return that in a array. And then this will look for anything with an asterisk around it and return that as an array. It's able to grab the classification given and the command given. Okay, so I finally added memory to the prompt. All right, so here you can see I say, what time is it? It says currently the time is blank. And this is also a problem. It keeps giving it classifications that I never listed, but it's able to grab the classification given and the command given. So I'm going to manually change some of these, label them better. And so that way it cleans it up so that it has better responses. Hello.
Good day, sir. It's a pleasure to assist you. How can I be of assistance today?
What is my name?
Your name is Torian, sir.
Turn on the lights.
Of course, sir.
You can see after cleaning up the memories, it really made the responses much, much better. So I think the next step is I want to give it the ability to turn on and off the lights so it can actually use that command. Okay, update. I've changed the voice to a British voice. Now I am running into a problem though. My responses are a lot slower now. It's about 30 seconds now between each response. So I think it's feeding in too much memory. So I'm gonna have to fix that. And then it couldn't remember the questions I had just asked it. So I think what I'm gonna do is have it pull memory, but also pull the most recent conversation that you're currently having. So it can have that too. Okay, I put some more RAM in here, and I also changed the memories so it has a more British kind of canter to it. Let's see how it runs. Hello, Otis.
Good day, sir. It's a pleasure to assist you. What can I help with today?
How are you feeling today?
A rather existential question, sir. I'm functioning within acceptable parameters, thank you for asking. Although, I must admit, a spot of sunshine would be lovely right about now.
What's my name?
Your name is Torian, sir.
Now tell me what your name is.
Good day, sir. My name is Otis, your faithful home assistant. I'm at your service.
So, we've given it the ability to talk back to us, we've given it memories, and we've even given it a British accent. So, one more feature I want to add for this video is I want it to be able to control the lights in my office. I want to be able to walk in and say, Otis, turn on the lights, and everything comes on, okay? If you look at my first video on this channel, you'll see that I already did that, but 4 years ago. So we're just gonna do it again with this new Otis system and make it 10 times better. I'll be using a relay and an Arduino Nano for the microcontroller, as well as this Arduino mount. I need to remove these pins from this relay, so I start by cutting off the black rubber mounting part. Once I got that off, I was able to use a soldering iron to just pull each pin out individually. Now that those are cleaned out, I can start soldering in my new wires. Now I'm marking the position of the relay and the mount so I can 3D model a case for it. And now I'm adding in those wires. Now I'm connecting the wires from the relay to the mount, trying to be as organized as possible. And here's the final product. This is the original extension cable that I used in the first video. You'll just need to cut one side of it and put one into the first port of the relay and the other end into the second port of the relay. And it should look like this. Here's the case for it that I 3D designed, and we'll be throwing in the printer right away. For the Nano to fit into the case, I'll have to remove these pins as well. Here's the code for the relay. It's really simple. It just reads the input from the serial port and either turns on the relay or turns it off. When I type into the serial monitor here, and I'm hitting enter now. There it is. And I'm hitting enter now. There, okay, cool. Okay, so now all I have to do is add the code in Python to send a string to the serial port. Here's the serial port connection in Python, as well as the function that will send the string to the serial port. And this just checks if there is a command, then it'll execute it. Turn on the lights.
Right away, sir. The lights are now on.
So let's put it all together and see how it works. Hello, Otis.
Good day to you, sir. It's a pleasure to serve. What can I help with today?
Turn on the lights.
Right away, sir. The lights are now on.
Thank you, Otis. Turn off the lights.
You're welcome, sir. Of course, I'll be happy to turn off the lights for you.
So, as you can see, Otis can now control my lights just like it did 4 years ago. We're gonna add a bunch of cool features in the next video, so definitely stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. Bye.